Boy, do I have questions for you, sir.
Steven, you are the least dull person I think I know. You always bring me good questions.
uh,
I mean that in the best way. I really do.
right?
How's your Cloudflare? I'm sorry, your CrowdStrike.
Zero effect.
Good on. Yeah, we had the same here. So I will say this, and this has sort of been my mantra. I had meetings with a couple of partners that Friday, and some of them were absolutely in panic mode. Can't talk, too busy, everything on fire, gotta go, click. And then I had two of them in a row that were like, yeah, we've got a whole bunch of folks that are dealing with this, and we're just going to keep moving forward. And it was clear they had tabletopped losing a critical service. And I thought that was actually kind of a nice takeaway for those of us who weren't, you know, hammered so hard is, yeah, we have battery backups. We know how to do a failover VPN. I'm sorry, a failover. I've got cable in one side and I've got DSL in the other side of the building. So even a trencher can't take me out. It's like all the different things we do to back up. And what do we do if we lose that OS? It's something else. So it was an interesting weekend.
Um, yeah, I mean, I get that. Listen, I, I honestly don't think that anyone can tabletop or if the world crashes,
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do.
It's that big rock that falls out of the sky and pancakes your data center. There's only so much you can do.
Yeah, and people need to. This is why we have cyber insurance, right? This
Indeed.
is an event.
Indeed. Oh, we have
All
14
right,
AIs and the three of us. Oh, and
cool.
Greg and Dan and a few. So
Okay. All right. So I have a list of
good morning, Dan.
things that I found, but most importantly, um, is the ticket that is sent to my PSA from SaaS Alerts
Sure. Let's talk about that. Remind me, which PSA do you use, Stephen?
Ninja.
Ninja. Excellent. Good business partners. Tell me what's going on.
Um, well, I mean, it's a whole bunch of information, and most of it is useless, and it's difficult to read. It's not something that can be quick and looked at. I mean, obviously, like the status field, it's just buried, right? I mean, there's not enough spacing between the information. I mean, some information is just not valuable and should be pushed further down the ticket, like in the notes, like, hey, here's some ancillary information. Here's the critical stuff that you need to know.
Tertiary, secondary, or primary, secondary, tertiary.
Yeah, I mean, if I take, either I share my screen and I show you, or I send this, picture of this, it doesn't really matter, right? I mean, it's nothing
I know what
critical
tickets
to
look
me.
like. Yeah.
But if you look at this, I just put it in chat. Organization, okay, that's necessary. Product, sign-ins, cool. Joint type, not sure it really has any value for primary information. Like activity type, important. Event description, not critical. Date and time, important. Status, important. Full-time, IP address, country, region, city, IP address, type of business, route, not critical information. I mean, if you look at this, I mean, this takes a while to look at. It is not, it is not great.
We're looking at, and this has always been the balance, is it's like, security and usability. I can collect 80 or 90 different pieces of data and shove them into a ticket and absolutely overwhelm a tier one tech. And he'll be like you, hunting to find that needle in that haystack. But what is enough and what isn't enough and what order should it be in? That's been a bit of a moving target. Now, one thing I will say, if you want more data, Stephen, we got you.
Listen, data
Don't think
is
you do.
never a bad thing, right? And
Yeah.
and in all fairness, you do have a link at the bottom of the ticket to take me directly to SaaS alert information.
Right.
And that's great. But I don't think it's incredibly difficult to create tiers of information to be able to put it to say, here's the critical information that you need in 10 seconds.
I'll take that back to Adam because I know they're working on the APIs that basically are feeding that data and parsing that data and presenting that data to different PSAs. And I know he's wanting to make some changes. I don't know if allowing you to, and this is where we want to go, and I know where we want to go is, you know what, for Stephen, here's the 5 things he wants in a ticket, and the rest of it, don't even push into my PSA. It's there in the logs
Oh,
if I need it.
I don't care if it's in the ticket. That's not what I'm
Yeah,
saying. But
you just want me.
organize it. Like, here's the critical stuff, space, 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 and then here's here's the fill. And then if you
Right.
want to dig further, here's the link to get back into SaaS alerts. That's all I'm asking. These tickets, whether it's the font that you're using, the point size, or you know, something, line spacing, but critical information. Maybe critical information could be bolded. I mean, there's so many things that you could do. It's just, you know what I mean? That's my
No,
number one gripe,
I appreciate the feedback, Stephen. We'll definitely take that back to Adam and let him know that, gosh, it might be nice.
right? So then on the overview, right, on the main board, right, if you go to applications, right, and it's interesting information, but like if I'm looking at applications, right, and I go, okay, I've got 11 critical alerts. I can't click that button and go directly to those critical alerts that you're referencing here by apps.
Right. And I think part of that is that this was always meant to sort of be a database collection engine, and we wanted to feed it where you live and breathe, anyways, which is the PSA. Now, that's sort of evolved as we've added more functionality to the platform. So that's something that, we're sort of looking at what's the best UX. And I used to joke about this during onboarding. People said, hey, your UX is kind of boring. It's flat. And I'm like, go get Clippy if you want something exciting in your life, man. We put all of our efforts under the hood and very little into the UX. Well, that has evolved. That has definitely evolved. You've seen that with the changes in the menus, even
Yeah.
since you've been with us,
Uh-huh.
Stephen. So
Yeah.
we're continuing to evolve that. And if there's do me a favor, screenshot what you want, highlight it, and email it to your account manager or to me, and we'll bubble that up because I like
Yes.
different parts of my platform where I can be contextual and hit a link and then go back and see more data, and from there dive in deeper and the like.
Well, here's my perspective, right? On that screenshot that I just put in
Yeah,
chat,
I see
if
that.
I
Yeah.
if I click on 11 critical alerts, it would be nice if it would just take me to those specific 11 alerts. I don't want to I don't want to have to go down to event monitoring and then apps by, this, that, and the other. Just show me the critical alerts so I can see what I need to address.
No, and keeping that out of the report side, just to jump over to analysis and give you those whatever that link is. I can see the value in that.
Yeah. So the next thing, the MFA report button.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at reports and just the base report, and you specify you've got these blue little buttons here for either Google Workspace or Microsoft, right? It makes it feel like I should be able to click on
Like that,
Microsoft.
and it would pre-populate that pull down. Yeah, that's that's a request we've had.
Yeah.
to make those
Okay, so you
contextual.
got that one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. And then under vulnerability reports, right? So if I go to vulnerability,
Mhm.
I don't see all of my customers.
I believe the vulnerability report, and the assessment is specific to Fortify. So if you've got them loaded up in Fortify,
Okay,
then
so it's Fortify
yeah,
required.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
exactly. Because that's what's populating is that module is populating that particular report.
okay. And then I have one last request that is not currently in your
Bring it,
platform that I am
Steven.
aware of.
I love it.
I would love to see an active threat map filterable by industry, and it would also show me current breaches, like a almost like a ticker tape, right? And I know there's a bunch of organizations out there that have things like this. Here's the problem: I don't want to advertise other vendors that I don't use, right? I would really love. I would like ultimately to be able to put on my website a link back to SaaS alerts that has an active threat map that's just showing here's all the breached companies and here's all the attacks that are happening right now, just so that
No,
you understand the value, the damage that we're protecting you, Mr. Customer, from.
you are in real time. Yeah. On the landing page, that particular map, there's a way to blow it out and make it full screen. And I've had people put that in the lobby of their brick and mortar. So I like where you're going with that. I had another partner ask me about that the other day. The only challenge I've got is your experience is going to be different than Matt's. It's going to be different than Greg's or even Enrique's. So I would
I'm
love
not
to.
sure.
Well, and just because, some of my partners have got 80,000 seats, and you have 800 or whatever the number is. I really don't even know, Stephen. Please don't take that in a bad way.
No,
But
I don't.
so if they're being attacked in a different way, different methodology, or different, as you say, industry, that might be something of value if I could not just show you your data, but the, 400,000 foot view of what's going on the planet.
And see, that's where I'm at. I'm not looking at my customers. I'm literally want global, because I want to show people what is happening at a global level. And then I want, and then as far as companies that get breached, that would be super cool if I could say, hey, you're in the financial services sector, right? Yeah. Well, let me show you all the companies that have been breached and all of the attacks that are happening on healthcare right now, or in the last 30 days,
Banking,
or the last 90
transportation,
days.
utilities, right?
You know what I mean? That would be
Absolutely.
super freaking cool. And there are other companies that I don't use that have this map today that's out there. But when you click on it, it goes directly to the products that they sell. And I don't sell their
Right.
products.
Right. So you don't want to
I
host
sell
that link
your
on your
product.
world. Um, Ben, as a takeaway, let's talk to Dev about that because the mechanics are already there. And I was actually talking with another partner who wanted to do something similar. Um, they love our reports, that's great, but they have heavy presence in BI and they wanted to build their own maps. And so I pointed in some directions from the notes that our dev guys gave because if I'm just looking at your data, Stephen, if you are just looking at your data, it's all there in the API. If you got an API guy that can pull that out and publish it into a mapping app, you're in business. But if I could
That
do
would be
that
cool.
and slap it on my website or be able to make that a linkable thing that you could bury in your marketing and your advertising, I think there's some value there. That's a good takeaway. Like all
Yeah.
your great
So
ideas, Steve.
thank you. Yeah, Ben, that map is actually really good. And I've seen this map. There's a better one out there. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I'll think of it. But yeah, you can on here. You can see the top targeted industries: education, healthcare, and government. Top malware threats, top countries. And you can see the attacks happening live, right?
Right.
And the amount of daily attacks, right? And you can
Sure.
see who's attacking who. So but I don't use, Checkpoint.
Mhm.
Well, I guess technically I do because I use Avanon, but
Mhm.
at the end of the day, you know, I would like to be able to put this exact thing
Mhm.
on my website and be able to then say, here's why we met.
Mhm.
And here's what we're doing to protect you. And here's, what I mean? And so I can start moving these conversations in a different direction.
And I hear you nodding.
Yeah. I was just trying to think. I mean, that might be something that we could do when MSA starts really going, because we'll have other dashboards already in place. We would just need to be able to find a way of presenting it without any sort of information. That it looks like they do it just by a location, which isn't bad. We just I don't know how they target healthcare or government. I guess they just do like these are the top ones, but they don't drill
Yeah,
down
and
into it.
see, that's the intelligence that I don't think we have. Is if Steven's loaded up a client, it's like Bob's Burgers, then I could assume that's in the industry, in the food industry. But if it's Bob's Computer and Garden Emporium, I don't even know what that means. So separating that out by industry might be a little bit of a challenge. But I like where we're thinking.
Yeah, this is a better one. For some reason, I can't. Oh, it's actually up right now. Oh, this one is the best one I've seen.
Checkpoint.
No, it's
Oh.
Ransom Mania.
Mhm.
This is the best one I've seen. And the reason why is on the left, you can filter the attacks down by industry. You can filter them down by time frame. You can filter them down by region. And it's not overly crowded. Are you guys able to, Ben, are you guys able to get in
I'm
and look
still
at
clicking
it?
on motorcycles to try to get a look at it.
Yep.
So, you're not seeing a lot of animation, and I don't honestly think it's a lot of it's real necessary to see all the animation. But
You should see Kaspersky's.
oh, I'm
Those are
sure.
nothing but animation.
Yeah, again, I don't know that the value is in the animation. The value is in the data,
Mhm.
right? Like this is showing the recent ransomware attacks, right? And there was one today already that happened, right?
Shocked I am.
Community high school. Saudi marketing was done yesterday. Cypro private, I mean, all these companies. And then, but if I'm talking to a customer, and let's just say they're in business services, and I click business services, I can show them why what we do matters, because these are all the attacks in the last 30 days strictly on business services. If they're in finance, right? Like, we're all after FTC level, compliance level customers.
Mhm.
Berkshire
We'll toss
Hathaway
this.
got breached 3 days ago.
Yeah. It's everybody's getting breached every day. It's just become white noise, it seems, as terrible as that is to say. I'll toss this out to the rest of the group. What do you think as far as marketing? Would there be some value in something like that? Do you think that that's something that would get your client's attention above and beyond what we've already got baked in?
I think we need a friendly evil jinx that you guys control. That would really turn it up a notch.
Break it up just a bit, just a bit.
Yeah, I would
appreciate that.
Ben, what are your thoughts on Ransomania? I mean, would something like this be possible?
Yeah.
So with a lot of these maps, a lot of it is firewall and ransomware that I assume that I'm not sure how they're getting their data. We couldn't present any sort of like names of industries, just because it would be I think against our policies. But yeah, but as far as it would really be a matter of, we could identify certain like indicators of compromise and alert on that. Um, but I think
Well,
that
I mean, this has got to be public data.
yeah. As far as ransomware, yes, I would assume so.
So why can't we use it? I mean, you should be able to find this exact same data somewhere.
Yeah, but with I mean, like if you're looking to pull from our system.
Oh, I'm not looking to pull from your system. I'm looking just for you guys to replicate what Ransom Mania is doing and make it available to us. I'm not looking to pull data from you guys. I'm just looking for you guys to offer this so that when we're out there advertising, I'm not advertising Cyberint.
Something like that would be, I don't know if you've ever looked at OpenCTI before, but that has a lot of open source data on it. It would be something that we could, I'm sure we could do it. I don't know. I'm not sure what, I guess we'd have to talk to marketing and see how much we could dedicate to this sort of thing.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, Ben, since we already have the base engine of a navigatable map, it's just selecting the feed and the data source, and I think that's just all coming through Looker today is where we are. I think that's how that happens. So we just got to figure that one out.
Yeah, it would have to pull basically anonymized data, and we could obviously do like critical and medium alerts. If you're talking about specific indicators of compromise, that would probably be later on.
Well, the more you can offer, the better, right? I mean, listen, I'm just looking to grow, as I'm sure Enrique is, and Ryan is, and Larry, you know, and we're looking for ways to enhance our websites so that we have, you know, better.
It's always been this. If I can't explain something to you one way, I have to have 4 other stories or anecdotes or ways to communicate that. And if this is something that, you know, you would clearly find value in, I'm sure you're not alone. So we'll definitely bubble that up to Dev and see how they can work that in.
Yeah.
Because again, I think on our website, or, you know, link back to your website, pulling from our, whatever it is, I think there's value in seeing something like that.
Something like, I think, a map that would pull critical data like authentication failures, account locks, all the stuff that we usually put on the risk report. But it would be more just real time and wouldn't live out there as long. It basically, you know, like it would, after a couple hours, would drop off because the whole map would be red.
But no, well, again, I mean, you know, if I'm looking at this, right, I'm just, you know, I'm zoomed in on finance, and it's got 495 breach results in the last 30 days. You know, who the ransomware group was, the location, and the date of the compromise, and then the attacks that happened in the last 30 days. I don't see that as you know, as a problem, right? I mean, I'm trying to show value.
Yeah, we would probably target more like the BECs instead of ransomware, but something that we could, you know, identify and really help you there. But yeah, we can. I could definitely talk to the dev team, see what they say.
We'll take back to dev and just, and I think it'd be a good exercise for us, Ben, to understand how we're presenting that data. Is that just some widget, you know, that we're just plugging data in? Could we enrich that with other data sources that aren't us? And could we do that securely? Because that's going to be Chip's question.
Yeah, I would just want to pull. I would pull an account, and then I would pull a location. That would be really the only thing,
right?
That, you know,
how do we sanitize those inputs? That's my real question.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it wouldn't be a ton of data.
365 here primarily in this scenario.
I figured everything or something that could be filtered at least.
Yeah, I mean, again, if I have the raw data for a marketing exercise, if you're seeing a bunch of Salesforce attacks around the world alongside a bunch of, you know, O365 and Dropbox and whatever else, is there value in showing that you're monitoring different applications and everybody's getting attacked? It's not just Microsoft. It's, you know, oh, I own an Apple, I own an iPad. That never gets hacked. Yeah, shit. So I kind of wonder about that. If I can get all that data in one place, could we make a rainbow colors, you know? It's like, what can we make this look like that would be engaging and interactive? So
I
to
don't,
answer your question,
you
Enrique,
know,
I
I
don't
mean, the
know.
problem, the problem with this, with taking a customer to this website is they can reach out directly to Ransomania, and that directly flies in the face of everything that we're trying to do as MSPs. We want them to do business with us. I just want the information that's here.
I found a project that basically that does that. We would just need to find a way to provide the information via our API.
Push that in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's all
Appreciate the
I have.
feedback, Stephen. Yeah, appreciate that. Hey, has anybody else got a punch list of things they'd like to talk about? Bring it, Enrique. Bring it.
Come in peace today.
You come in peace today. All right. Well, I hope everyone's last couple of weeks has been as quiet as possible with all of the CrowdStrike and all of that. So Steve and I were kind of talking at the top before everybody was jumping in that from my perspective, we kind of saw two different partners. One that was absolutely on fire, losing their mind, and of course their clients are losing their minds as well, and they're running around like chickens with their heads cut off. And others that I'm not going to say they had a disaster recovery plan in place, but it seems like this is one of those things that they had at least contemplated because they had people putting out the fires and the business continued to move forward. So it just kind of made me think about, it's kind of things that Andrew is always talking about as well. It's like, have you discussed with your clients what happens when this service just flat goes away for 24 hours or an hour? In a previous existence, I did hard engineering, civil engineering, and I could tell you to the penny if our rack went down because we had everything on-prem because civil engineering files tend to be huge and have to be kept local. But if we had a switch cascade failure in our switches one time, and I could tell you to the penny how much it cost me per minute to have 150 engineers that build $300 an hour. How much did that cost the company to have them not be productive for 30 minutes? This is the world that I came out of where everything had to be billable. A little different in our world, but not completely. And thinking down that, this is, I think, one of those things we need to talk about. It's like Jim was saying on last week's community call. It's not if Microsoft gets completely torpedoes, it's when. Everybody's going to get hit. We were talking about all the different, there's a different breach every day. Yeah, there's a different breach every day. So it's going to happen. In any case, I was curious about if anybody had any thoughts on that matter. As verbose has always been.
It'll be an interesting day.
It will be. It will be an interesting day.
Thankfully, there's a lot of Linux servers out there. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, that's the problem is my mom doesn't know how to do anything like that. And that's what I kind of have to frame this in is, people on my street, intelligent, educated, travel people, they have no idea how to fix any of this stuff because they don't have an MSP in their back pocket. They don't have this, security experience. They haven't tabletopped that. What happens if the power goes out? What happens if the house is on fire? What happens if your internet goes away? What happens if your OS goes away? It's a lot of stuff. In any case,
I will say it really showed the lack of redundancy with a lot of their systems.
There's something,
the
and I
purest definition of putting all of your eggs in one basket, one
100%.
Windows basket.
One Windows basket. That's exactly right. And then let's patch everything all at once. That's another one of those takeaways. Like even back in the day when I was on-prem engineer, we would slow roll that stuff. I've got 18 different servers. I'm going to do one at a time. Listen for the screams. have a fallback point.
Yeah, and their stock still hasn't recovered from that. It's still going down.
Yeah, they survived the last couple of years without as much artificial inflation, but now I think there's a correction happening for them.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? Wall Street Bets is invading this discussion now, Ben. Ben, anything in your pocket that you want to talk about? I know we've talked about a couple things. Hey, this would be good to talk about on our office hours call. Anything bouncing on your brain, man?
Yeah, let's see. Let me fire this up. Okay. So I know some of you were on the SASE call and we were talking about wild cards and stuff. I just wanted to kind of jump into that and show you a couple of the more technical things that I didn't want to bore people to death on the SASE call. Not all of them are highly technical, but I did want to bore you guys to death.
This audience is, yeah. This is the boring audience. No, I mean the boreable.
Funny. Someone's been very busy here. So, yeah, so basically we discovered
David.
that it's not the easiest thing to specify all these different periods and what's its and whatnots. And on one hand, we would love to be able to do regex on these rules, but on the other, it would open up a support nightmare for people that were trying to don't understand regex. And so we were trying to figure out an easy way to give flexibility to this rule without causing mass confusion and having things break and people be on support going, why isn't my statement working? But so we decided, that obviously we could add a star here and that would cover anything but in this frame, in this little area right here that started with a period. But we also, something that we didn't talk about on the SASE call was Corey from Solutions Granted said, I'd like to be able to detect a rule that's created with just like a certain number of characters, right? Because a lot of them are using, real letters, like maybe AB or ABA or whatever. And your typical person creating a rule, well, usually is a little bit more verbose. And, even if they are, and you catch some false positives, it's better than having something slip under the radar that didn't start with a period or dash or underscore, which, by the way, a lot of them do. So one thing that is planned, I can't promise you 100% it'll be in there, but it is currently been approved and is being put in there, is the ability to do question marks, which act as wildcards, except for single characters, right? So if you had something that was just, AA, or you also wanted to cut something that was maybe RT or something like that, or just, like, let's say like that. Well, you could use a question mark that will detect anything, including a question mark that is just two characters. So not only is this really powerful for respond rules, as far as, like mailbox forwarding rules, but pretty much anything too. One of the things that we are working on, and I don't think I'm breaching any sort of confidence or any sort of a non-disclosure here, but our system, we've discovered that we can keep an eye out for certain extensions of files and kind of even detect files that are being ransomed. Ran it and tested it and found it. And so if we're able to create one that just said star Locky file or something like that, would that also be effective? And it was, which is really good. So while we can't obviously prevent ransomware, we can start shutting accounts down that we see that popping up on, so that more damage can't be done. But I would love to see your inputs as far as the wild cards or question marks, or anything you guys can think of, or anything that you think would be good. You'd love it. I knew you would. And the reason we came up.
Do you have a way of ripping through the database and seeing like what kind of characters have been used in the past? I know you did demonstrate that they were using pins and dots and stuff like that, but is there a way to get a collected list of what's been tried?
Yes, I believe so. I can. I can't bring it up on this call, but I could present what has been tried, and I've talked to Chip about something that is mulling over in my head too, as far as uh, we're really happy that how Discord has become a place for you guys to share different things that you're seeing, and I would love eventually for that to be a part of our platform. But there's hurdles around that too, to say, what if somebody reported a false positive and now you have a bunch of alerts going off, stuff like that. But yeah, my plan is, as we see these things, as I see these like trends changing, is
Trends and
to
patterns,
just
yeah.
update you guys. Yeah, create rules that are both in the template library and automatically for people that are on MSA and can detect this sort of thing. And if for some reason I'm able to see something in a database, but you're not able to see it with Respond for whatever reason, or if it's going to cause a whole bunch of problems, then that will really force us to fix and update and improve Respond. So that's one of the driving forces behind this wildcard change.
Yeah, there's a lot coming in Respond, and we want to get to it all. And it's the old, if you bring one brilliant idea to market, you just ignored 99 other brilliant ideas. Just only so many hours in the day.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things that I've really pushed for us to do with Respond to. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's a field called miscellaneous and analyze, that's not a filterable thing in Respond, but that will be very soon. That's one thing that is currently in development, is just to be able to filter off of that, because sometimes there's good information in it, and not always. A lot of it is in the description details, but occasionally it sneaks over there into that field. So we want to be able to filter off of that. And also, I think file name was one too. You can get similar information from the description details, usually the file name, but the file name field will strip all that out and just give you the file name itself. But miscellaneous is really valuable because of, I don't know if you guys have looked at like a file share event, but under miscellaneous includes the entire URL for the SharePoint folder, right? So if you wanted to be able to monitor for activity in a particular folder, you can do that in the combination with wildcards. Will really help you.
And
I can
Dan,
use
as
that
far as,
right away.
I'm sorry, was that Mr. Kennedy?
Yeah, I could use that right away. There's a couple of continuous messages that I could just weed out right away.
Yeah, and that's been one of the things that's been kind of high on my list for a while. If somebody's sharing something out of the accounting share externally, probably want to know about that. If somebody's sharing anything out of the R&D share with anybody, maybe I want to know about that. I mean, I can't imagine all the different kinds of data that I would want to monitor for exfil or even just opening, at the very least. So yeah, we won't see this by Tuesday, but that is high on my list.
Yeah, and so far thank goodness, Chip's really seen the value in these sort of things, and then has the right buttons that we don't have access to, that he can push to make these sort of like changes happen pretty rapidly. So, but yeah,
one thing to note, the data that you're seeing in the details under the little magnifying glass, that is actually something that's not horribly terrible for our dev team to present in tickets, because obviously what you get in the ticket is a streamlined version of that. But to Steven's point to the top of the call, it's a balance between too much data and not enough data, and is it in the right order, so that an entry-level tech, someone new to the world, might be able to figure it out without a lot of hand-holding. That's one of the challenges. I think miscellaneous, being able to filter on that and respond, that's huge. That's huge.
And there's a couple of things we're working on too, to also provide additional log entries with the capability of using Unify. Sometimes Microsoft doesn't give us enough data with these sort of events to even say, hey, it gives us a lot of these incomplete data, and which is really annoying. So we have kind of figured out a way to populate that and really enumerate more data into there. So that is also on the way too, that will really tremendously help Unify.
That's fantastic. Mr. Kennedy.
So the search bar in that analytics that you were just in there,
Mhm.
is that pretty wide ranging? Like it really digs into the event, like anywhere to get a match?
That's a good question. Like even in the miscellaneous field kind of thing, or
Right.
Like usually sometimes it's very good, like it'll do a good hit. And then I know that I'm looking for a specific message and I can't seem to find it using the search bar. So I wonder if it's sort of constrained a little bit, like it doesn't really read the whole ticket.
Mr. Kennedy, I'm kind of right there with you. I think that a lot of times when I have a set of search results and I export that to a CSV, there's more data there than I'm getting in the CSV. And so that's been one of those requests that if I decide I want to dump all this out, give me everything. If I need to be able to search from within the GUI, I want to be able to search every field. And to answer your question, I don't think it searches every field right now, but
no, it does not.
yeah.
And I do the same thing you do, which is the spreadsheet makes it a lot easier to organize, sort, color, and search. So I do use that as best way around it.
Yeah, and that's one I've asked for before. I don't even know if it's in Note, but I squeaky wheeled about that a couple of years ago. It's like, listen, if it's on
Yeah.
the screen and I dump it out to a spreadsheet, can I please have everything? Please, pretty please, sugar on top.
Yeah, and the funny thing is you can do that with the API. Like, so it should be possible to do it with the CSV.
right?
Like I wrote a PowerShell script that basically just dumped the events into a PowerShell array and all the data was there. And then you could put it to a CSV. So it's possible. Something that we should definitely be bringing to dev. Especially like there's another place. It's like when you're doing the reports, right? When you're exporting reports, like of all the critical data, it gives you like the headlines, but none of the real, like the juicy data. So
Excellent.
yeah, we can definitely bubble that up again.
And thanks for that feedback, Mr. Kennedy. I've updating
Mhm.
our my squeaky wheel list that my dev guys hear from us. So, anything else going on in the security world or on the platform that you guys have any interest in diving into? And I don't know if you saw at our Discord that we did have. It's funny. Amanda mentioned this last week, and then this week I had somebody asking about the APIs expiring within 7 days, and that's a new item in Fortify. So if you guys are worried about those Entra API keys expiring, put that policy in place in Fortify, and you'll get a notification when they're 7 days out from expiring.
Oh, and another thing, if you guys have some time, was it this Thursday? Please join our SASE call. They're making a pretty big announcement there that will, I think, be pretty impactful.
And that's as much as we can tease.
Pretty much. I wish there was more.
Don't worry, everyone's asleep. You can throw it out.
Just going to whisper it gently.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like I wish I knew.
I mean,
I wish I had like
what can you
American
say,
Sign
Anthony?
Language. I could give you some
Yeah.
hints.
I mean, I could write something down on a piece of paper.
Oh, guys, got about another 20 minutes. Is there anything that we can chat about? Anything that we want to discuss? Or
I know we have an open ticket for mapped devices.
Mhm.
We seem to be having challenges with those. Any updates on that? Or is anybody else having challenges with mapped devices?
What does challenging mean?
Well, we'll go through and we'll clean up all the mapped devices.
Mhm.
But then if somebody doesn't log in after 30 days, it unmaps the device. We've got an open outstanding ticket. And then when they log back in, it doesn't remap them.
I've not paid attention to that. Thanks for the extra task.
You're welcome, buddy. You're welcome.
the use case there, if anybody isn't kind of clear with what Steven's asking, is like I have one partner who's got a client they set up for music festivals. So they show up, 3 weeks before Lollapalooza. They hire a bunch of folks. They hand them all laptops and they go to work. And then the minute the bands are packing up and leaving, they collect all the hardware. And he wanted a way to quickly recycle those. So we do the automatic mapping. He has it set to automatically unmap after like 14 days of no activity with that account. So, Stephen, just so I understand, there have been devices that are mapped to an account. Stephen at uses laptop 123. Stephen at goes stale for a month, it disconnects. And then Stephen at comes back from sabbatical, back from maternity, paternity leave, whatever, and goes to log in. And now the association doesn't reestablish itself.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. One bit of color around that, because I'm now looking at the ticket. Are you using, for Ninja, are you collecting the Entra device ID as well? You're muted, brother.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Are you collecting the Entra device ID in Ninja?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I figured you were,
I've
but
talked to Adam about this. There's a couple of things that I think need to be tweaked with the Unify algorithm. As there's one, I told him of an instance where I had like an analysis search and it showed this is the, like, we were very almost positive, this person signed in successfully from this device and everything, and it matches a whole bunch of things. But when I look under map, unmapped devices, they don't even show up in there as having any confidence whatsoever. And like not even a zero, like they're at like a 0 or something. And so he's aware of that.
Yeah, we have that same wonderful challenge. And I'm trying to reduce the tools that create additional work.
Mm-hmm.
And this is currently falling in that category.
Yeah,
which is problematic to say the least.
Yeah, I know he's working on that now. I know we just released IPv6 support and like server operating system support as well for Unify. So I think that algorithm is next on his list. But we can check with him, can't we?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those algos, I know that's a regular discussion point. And the nice thing is because I've got a solid data set, they can tweak the algos and go back and rerun it against the old data and see what it would have done. And so they're getting some good intelligence on that. And of course, it's a little bit of an iterative process, but they're getting tighter and tighter on that. And I'm kind of impressed, frankly, with the results they're getting out of sometimes a very limited data set. So.
Okay.
Good discussion,
He
Stephen.
says there is
Very
a fix coming to our algorithm on the next release that should help when Entra is enabled, and that was released yesterday.
There you are, Stephen. We just fixed it.
I'll see if that algorithm change went in there. But he basically summarized it as saying it's a matter of ratio. Like if you have a successful event sign in, like one, it's versus maybe 999 other events that have nothing to do with that, and it messes with the confidence level. But yeah, I know there's improvements coming.
I mean, okay, but if they're logging in,
yeah, agreed.
Shouldn't that be a non-issue?
No, I would think so. Yes. Yeah.
Let
me test. I'll test it on my end too. I don't know if I have intro on here or not.
Mr. Kennedy.
So Ben helped with a OneDrive kind of weirdness that another guy on the channel said it's happening to him. My question to Ben, that comment about what we think might be a VPN, a quiescent VPN by the OneDrive. Did you get that input from somebody that's a deep thinker in OneDrive and Microsoft? We're just wondering if that's a phenomenon that we should expect.
Yeah, I saw it like really like environment wide. It seems that when they sign in, it's almost like, I don't know if that's how they're securing their connection, but we get a lot of random internal IP addresses that have nothing to do with the environment's internal IP address. So we're thinking it makes some sort of connection, and that's the IP address Microsoft assigns it. It's the one that's in the log. But yeah, it's kind of annoying. But
All right, thanks.
yeah, but maybe that's how they do it. Maybe they, it's a VPN, it's secure. You connect, you download, you disconnect or something. Because it was weird because like with your instance, it was like every other file was a different IP address, an internal IP address, but also different data centers. So it was like it was making multiple connections to different data centers and establishing those secure connections.
Oh, you're telling me Microsoft has my data stored in more than one place? Shocked.
Well, at least they
Shocked I
were.
am.
It was out. It may have gone to the same place, but it was definitely taking different routes. Like we saw a bunch of strange IP addresses, but then we were looking at the user agent, and they were all kind of in one way or another referencing OneDrive. There's different OneDrive products that you'll see there.
Hey, I know we're coming down to the end here. Has anyone seen, oh, Enrique, you got a question?
No, but go for it. I'll go after.
Well, no, mine is not necessarily related to SaaS alerts, but go.
I don't know how relevant my brain's fried today, so I don't really know how relevant my question is going to be. But we've been seeing, like yesterday, a couple of Rocket Cybers reporting failed incidents, and they're reporting back based on the IP address. Is there a way or a best practice to take that IP address, failed 365 logins, and kind of search for it via the IP and see if multiple in SaaS alerts if multiple customers are being attacked by that same IP address? And two, is there any way to, again, dumb question because I'm not thinking, to blacklist it or have SaaS alerts do something for that IP address?
It's something that we've been talking about for a while, Enrique, is because I do have this meta view. I can see that, Steven's getting a spray attack, you're getting a spray attack, Mark, David, Connor, and they're not hammering the hell out of you, but I'm seeing it come from the same source, hitting a whole bunch of my partners. If I could take that intelligence and push it back to, I don't know, conditional access and block access from that IP or something, that's something we've looked at, and it's so far fairly CPU intensive, and so we haven't gotten there yet. But the basic framework is in place. We collect data. We have the ability to push back information into your clients. It's just a matter of should we or could we do that economically.
Yeah, but like right now, for me to do manually, let's say, so I'm seeing the Rocket Cyber incidents and I have the IP address. Can something be done with that IP address manually?
Like a search. I think we've talked about that before, Anthony, to establish a search for an IP address before committing the search field. Because right now you can search for it and under analysis, but it has to have a list of events that we can pull from. And if you're talking about a lot of events, obviously our system has that 30,000 limit.
There is a limit.
But you could search once it's in there. I would narrow down that sort of event either to failed logins. So if you're looking at 30,000 failed logins, it's going to be a little easier to do a search on across that. But I did talk, like I said, we talked to Chip a little bit about doing kind of our own like internal threat feed and everything. And he likes that idea. He definitely does. We would just never want it to become, they get the impression to any MSP that this one rule is going to detect all the bad guys wherever they're coming from, and you're safe 100%. That would be bad for someone to make that assumption. So
the reason I ask is because like Rocket Cyber will tell you best practice, go do this, and I'm like, okay, so you could definitely try to look at 365 and block that IP. But that's at that tenant. I imagine they're going to be, the IP is coming back as bad. It's being detected as bad itself on behavior. So I was just thinking more globally, how do you start cutting down or I mean, I know it could lead to other problems in the future or valid things, but if the IP is known as bad,
Mhm.
I don't think he's going to go to church and confess and become good.
And one thing I always ran across with our threat feed that we pull from a third party is that it's really easy to find yourself with an IP address that's known for attacking or abusing just by a random assignment from like Xfinity or whatever.
Yeah.
It makes that really difficult, and especially when you can go to go to Microsoft, spin up a server, do bad stuff, and then bail out and go get another IP address. So it's something that changes a lot. A couple of the people that we have on Discord are looking for certain ASN providers, which is a little easier to track, that seem to be okay with their subscribers performing malicious activity.
Checks cleared every month. Why would they not?
Yeah, and Enrique, you probably have seen it. It's like troublesome ASN names we have in Discord. There's people that are posting that all the time. But yeah, hang with me there, and let me see what I can do when we get fully into this new offering. Let me see what we can come up with.
Rich is asking about the age field on an IP call. I guess I'm not familiar with that. Is like how long somebody's owned that IP? What's that? What is that, Rich?
Just say like Clovider, or like Ben was just saying, VPN connection comes out of like a known, well-known, good provider. If it's spun up and it's only like 2 days old, if you knew the age of like how long this thing was in existence, it might be a clue as to somebody's like doing what he said, was spinning up a VM, doing some damage and moving it off.
That's interesting. I didn't know there was a date range creation date field in that.
I don't think
Any new thing
there
learned
isn't
for the
one.
day.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
there
they
is, but that would
probably-
be nice.
Mhm.
Another thing that I usually do is kind of like reverse IP searches, but that's not always 100% accurate either.
Yeah, what's that spam company that's using that's looking at domain age for
Yeah, a lot of them
right?
do. Like WatchGuard firewalls will do that too, like with their content filtering. It was like if your domain's not at least 30 days old, you get flagged as a new domain, and it's pretty much blocked. That's a great way to determine if something's malicious, or like there's a lot of fake online stores, but if you look at the creation date, it's like, oh, 30 days ago. That's probably not legit.
Yeah. Well, I just
All of
wonder, could
Ben's
you do
servers are
something
30
like
days
that?
old.
It would really be a matter of, we see more IP addresses than host names. It would be a matter of, can we reverse IP search that to a specific domain and then ping that age. And like I said,
Right.
it's not 100% accurate here. I'll show you a site that I always use. I use this one pretty frequently. And that one has a reverse IP address search. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it does give me some good stuff, but not 100%. I think I actually used it a couple times with Rich as far as some of the stuff that he's run into, where we only had the IP address. We were able to resolve it back to a domain name.
Yeah, I've been using that now to kind of check things.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Right on. Last couple of minutes here, guys. I'm going to pull the plug for me at least, because I do have a hard stop in 3 minutes for new onboarding. Look forward to chatting with you guys again in 2 weeks. Reach out to your AMs if you have any problems in the meantime. As Ben correctly said, we're going to tease that there's something coming down the pipe worth listening to this Thursday. So join us then if you can. If not, check it out on YouTube Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, at least the first 15 minutes or so.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
that's what I always tell.
Hey,
All
Ben,
right.
since we have 3 minutes or 4, I'm wondering, I ran across a product that called cloudcapsule.io. Has anyone seen it? It's $150 a month. It's unlimited tenants, unlimited users. And basically it uses API graph, and it goes and it pulls everything out of the Microsoft tenant all the security settings, the conditional access policies, everything, and puts it in a super cool format that you can read. I was just wondering if there was any value there.
That's something that I think that I've been pushing for us to do, is almost like a kind of a network detective, except for Office or a SaaS application. But no, I have never heard of these guys though.
That's a new one to look at.
Cloudcapsule.io. Let's see here. I was gonna say they must be, they look pretty new.
They're less than 30 days old. Can't deal with them.
Really? Is it?
I'm kidding. Kidding.
That's what I was gonna check. Let's see.
All right, guys, I got to bounce. Y'all take care. We'll see you on the next one.
You back. Let's see here. I'm just gonna look real quick. See. Dun dun dun. And I'm not seeing anything for their who is. I think Steve bounced too. You guys can hang out with me while I do a search.
All two of us? Two?
I
And then our
mean,
note takers.
oh, there's a lot of note takers. Kick all them note takers out.
Yeah, my stupid note taker. Haven't even touched it.
We have one for Zoom, and it's interesting, especially when like nobody shows up and we're just talking about random crap. So,
Yeah,
like
they talked about this. It's like, oh,
like
that's
somebody please delete that.
yeah. I saw
wanted
that
to
on one of mine. I left.
Yeah, I wanted to see how old this is. Honestly, I mean, I was like, I get that request so often. I was like, how hard could it be to write something that just pulls all this information and puts it into a website? But maybe these guys did it. Let's see.
I'm just waiting on being able to, dial in suppressions. That's what I'm waiting for.
You and me both. It was supposed to. Like I said, let me stop. How do I stop the? Okay, turn off all.